Good evening. We are live and welcome to Tea with Mimi. Demarre, it is so great to see you.
It's great to see you as well, Mimi. It's been a little while.
Absolutely. It's so nice to be reliving some memories from our Curtis days together in our talks leading up to this. So I'm sure we'll share that with folks in a little bit. But did you just come from rehearsal? Are you home in Seattle right now?
No and yes. I didn't just come from rehearsal. It was a kind of a day off, a day of practicing. Had a wonderful lunch, and now I'm having tea with Mimi.
Yes, it's so nice to have tea with you. So of course, as you're joining, everybody, welcome. Please say hello to us in the comments, and it's a great opportunity to ask questions of extraordinary flutist Demarre McGill, and we'll be delighted to chat with you. But please let us know where you are and what you're drinking. So let me start with you. What are you drinking this evening, Demarre?
Well, I'm having some cinnamon rooibos tea. Yeah, and it's yummy.
Delicious. Yes.
Absolutely.
I, yeah. Are you a tea fan in general? Is that your drink of choice?
Am I a tea fan? I wouldn't call myself a fan, but I wouldn't ever turn down a cup of tea. What are you drinking?
Well, I have one of my favorite teas. This is Wild Berries by
Hmm.
Twinings, and not a
Hmm.
commercial for Twinings, but I drink this all the time. I love it. But I just love tea in general and coffee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So great.
So Kaleem K has just said hello. Welcome, Kaleem. So excited for this. Thank you from Pittsburgh. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to officially introduce you, although I know we have friends and fans watching who know you already, of course, Demarre. Flutist Demarre McGill is principal flute of the Seattle Symphony Orchestra and former principal flute of Dallas Symphony, San Diego Symphony, Florida Orchestra, Santa Fe Opera Orchestra, and more. He has performed as soloist with the Philadelphia Orchestra, San Francisco Symphony, orchestras of Seattle, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Baltimore, and others, and is the recipient of the Avery Fisher Career Grant and the Sphinx Medal of Excellence. He taught at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music and was recently appointed faculty at the Colburn School. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. And has taught master classes internationally. He is a champion of accessibility, inclusion, and artistic innovation, and has championed underrepresented composers and projects that reflect diverse cultural perspectives. Demarre got his bachelor's in music at the Curtis Institute of Music, where we were classmates, and his master's in music from the Juilliard School. And he's also a Yamaha performing artist and clinician. We have to talk about our flutes because that's something we share. I think you joined the roster recently, right?
That's right. Yeah, I love it.
Oh,
Love
that's
my Yamahas. Yeah.
me too, absolutely. And Demarre is also a member of the McGill trio with his brother Anthony, another classmate of ours, and pianist Michael McHale. And we're actually going to share one of your amazing recordings in a little bit too. So
Mhm.
welcome again, Demarre. It's so great to have you on the
Thank you
show.
so much, Mimi.
And we have Hello from New Hope, Pennsylvania from Cordis Mundi. That is one of the choruses of wonderful choral director Rick Rosen and colleague of mine. So hi, Rick. Thanks for joining. Rudy Iraheta is here. Thank you. Albin to Miami. Yes, everyone say hello. You're welcome to ask questions as we get into this very fluty evening. So it's so great that you had many recordings to share and you kind of just let me select some of my favorites from your YouTube. Why don't we start with some music?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so how about the Poulenc Sonata? This is a clip of the first movement, one of our iconic works.
Mhm.
Is there anything you want to say? This is from a live performance.
It is. This was, I believe, a performance at the 92nd Street Y in New York City. And it's a piece that we all know and love. And I never tire of it. So.
Exactly. Same here. Let's listen to some of your performance. Bravo.
Thank you.
I just changed back the audio setting. Demarre, the gorgeous performance, really captivating. Of
Thank you
first
so much.
Ulang Sonata. You're welcome. I actually loved your turnaround, like the way you waited before the recapitulation.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Among many other things. Yeah. So who was your pianist in this performance?
Michael McGill, wonderful pianist, originally from Ireland, lives in London now, and he is the McHale part of the McGill trio, the trio that I have with my brother. He's our brother from another mother. I'm a wonderful pianist, wonderful friend, um, wonderful human being, and yeah, I love playing with Michael.
Absolutely. And yeah, I was so enjoying your trio recordings as well, which we'll share in a little bit. But one thing I've just been reflecting on, as we've spoken a little bit before tonight, is just our shared experience at Curtis. And I know for me, it was so special coming in as a first year student at age 12. I was very fortunate that the legendary flutist Julius Baker, our shared teacher, brought me to study with him at that time. And that I also studied with Jeffrey Kaner. So we shared that, but you were just 1 year ahead of me at school, and such a great and kind mentor and guide, and just kind of helping me learn about how Curtis works and everything. And so it's just so nice to remember those things.
Yeah, I would say it feels like yesterday, but it really doesn't in a way. It feels like a long time ago, but I remember it clearly. Yeah, you know, you were a superstar. Really, it's just, I remember you. I believe at some point you may have played the Lieberman Sonata. Has the Lieberman Sonata been? That's possible, right?
Yes, definitely. I think maybe
Yeah,
my
I was thinking, wait, how old are you again? It was, yeah, you were amazing, and it was a really good time. It was an important time in our lives, if I may speak for you. It was definitely an important time in mine, and especially because the studios are so small. Um, it's Fortunately, it was a studio that was, you know, full of positivity. I mean, I guess it really comes from the head, and I can't imagine a studio that wasn't that way, that was run by, our teacher, Mr. Baker, teachers, Mr. Baker and Mr. Kaner. So anyway, good times.
Absolutely. And, well, thanks for your words, because I was just aspiring, hearing your performances and those of our other senior members of the studio. And you're so right. It was small. There were four of us, four of every wind instrument. So enough for one orchestra at that time. And so a lot of special memories of playing together with you in orchestra. I'm going to share something from that as well. But I was wanting to ask you, just what are some of the major influences that Mr. Baker had on you as an artist?
Well, he was my favorite flutist, and even if he never said a word, just to be weekly in the same room as someone that I looked up to was almost enough, just to learn by osmosis. Um, he was still playing. He would play once in a while at that time, and that there was so much information in that. I would listen to him play, and paired with the many recordings that I'm sure we all were listening to of his. Um, it was very clear what a high level meant. It was very clear where I wanted to be based on hearing him, based on listening to his recordings. And fortunately, I had a very clear idea of where I was. So if I'm here and he's all the way up there, you just have a lot of work to do. So that's one way to learn. But I'll never forget one lesson, if I may share with you.
Yes.
That was absolutely my favorite lesson. And it was a lesson that I don't think that he intended to teach. So it was during my early years. So I was either 17 or 18. and I was very unprepared for a lesson. So I go to the library, very unprepared. I go to the library and I try to find something relatively easy to play. And I pick up the Caplet, the Reverie in Petite Valse. And I think, oh, this looks easy. And I went to the rehearsal that night with the pianist, and I'm thinking, okay, all right, it's not as easy as it looks, but I'm all in. I'm stuck with this work. So I bring it to the lesson the next morning, and Mr. Baker was looking out the window onto Rittenhouse Square, and almost immediately into this piece, he looks at me and he says, "Where are my glasses?" And I said, "Well, they're in your head, Mr. Baker." He said, "Where's my?" I said, "It's on the piano, Mr. Baker." And he told me to sit down on the couch, and he played the whole piece. But before he played the piece, he mentioned that this was one of his favorite pieces. He loved his pieces so much. And I, at that moment, could picture young Mr. Baker playing this piece, possibly in the same room for his teacher, William Kincaid. And he really brought me back there. He brought me back in time. And that lesson, you know, he just didn't want to hear me play because I wasn't prepared. And he was showing off a little bit and he sounded amazing. But that lesson taught me nostalgia in music because he really took me back to a time that I had never experienced, to a place that was familiar because it's possibly the same room where he had his lessons. But that feeling of listening to him has stuck with me, and it's something that I spent my life at times, appropriate times, trying to capture. How can you take someone to a time they've never experienced, to a place perhaps they've never been, you know, through the music, through your instrument. Anyway, I love my lessons with both Mr. Baker and with Jeff Kaner.
Wow, Demarre, thank you for sharing that story. And it really feels so personal. And not being there, I can picture it so vividly. Most of our lessons were with Mr. Baker in the Salzedo room at Curtis, so the historic harp studio, but also the studio where Mr. Baker taught in front of a large photo of his teacher at Curtis, William Kincaid, who was principal flute of the Philadelphia Orchestra for decades. So I always felt so strongly that sense of tradition that you're remembering from that lesson. And when you said the Caplet, Reverie, and Petite Valse, I have his sound in my ear for that too, because I remember he was he really loved that piece and just identified it with it so much. And just like, absolutely, I also feel so lucky that Julius Baker was still playing a lot in my early lessons, even though he was in his late 70s, but with the famous Julius Baker sound, like the sound that we can hope to have at any age, that he was exuding. And I just remember goosebumps and tears coming out, and just, you know, to be so close to him making that sound, it was just the hugest inspiration too, because like you're saying, he often taught with very few words, but by demonstrating. And sometimes I would say something a little cryptic, like a very short remark that I'm still unpacking, the depth of that remark. I can think of a really famous one. Do you have a favorite Baker saying? He had a few that he would say a lot, I think. But
you're going to make me famous. I mean, really, I mean, he would say things like that, and I wouldn't take it that seriously. But in hindsight, I think there's something to repeating things like that. You know, you're going to be a star. You know, there's something to that. I mean, it's, as long as it's paired with a lot of hard work, it almost doesn't matter the sincerity of it. It's like, you hear it enough, you start to believe that, you know, there's some truth to it. I mean, if by being a star, he meant you'll find a way to create your own version of success. It varies person to person, but yeah, things like that. What about you?
Well, one of the things that he said a lot throughout his life, I think, right, because I know this from other students in the Baker family, he would say, "You are your own best teacher." a lot, right? And
Yes.
it's so deep because it's so true. I mean, he's with us for that hour a week, even for years, and giving us so much. But at the same time, we're with ourselves every moment that we practice. And I just think it's incredibly deep. And I think also it was something that Jeffrey Kahner's teaching embodied in that, sure, they would tell us how to play that spot or help us through specific problems, but they really gave us the tools to approach music for ourselves, to think for ourselves, to express. And I think that's just
Mhm.
what's so deep behind that
Yeah,
one.
it was an important part of the recipe of the success of their studio was that I mean, you have, so many wonderful players that have so many wonderfully personal, individualized sounds and approaches to music from the same roots, of course, musically speaking, but um, that yes, that was an important recipe, the ability to perhaps even pick students that were capable of eventually or right away being their own best teacher. Yeah.
Yes. And actually one comment he made that at the time I was a little frustrated, but again, I've continued to unpack. I was playing the first movement of Bach Partita for him. And I said, Mr. Baker, there's no place to breathe. That's a famous problem in this movement, right? And he said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I know I was not playing it perfectly. I'm sure that's not what he thought, but I think it was, again, just trying to empower me to figure it out, to get those tools from him and keep going.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's come back to these and other topics. Let's have some music. You mentioned your trio with your brother Anthony and pianist Michael McHale, and I would love to put on. It's actually the fifth of the portraits of Langston Hughes by Valerie Coleman, our other amazing colleague. And do you want to introduce it at all, or kind of hear it and talk after?
Is the fifth movement, is that the Harlem Night?
Um,
Which one
I
is this?
think it's the jazz band in a Parisian
Oh,
cabaret.
the Parisian Cabaret. Oh yeah. This is a fun movement. The work in its entirety is amazing. We played it a bunch. It's near and dear to us for sure. And yeah, I believe this movement begins with piccolo, so be forgiving. You know? But oh, such a brilliant work by a brilliant composer.
Awesome. Let's hear some Valerie Coleman now. Bravi to the McGill trio. That sounds fantastic.
It's fun. A lot of fun to play that piece.
And come on, I didn't pick piccolo on purpose, but you sound great on piccolo.
Thank you.
But I know what you mean from what you said before, because sometimes someone has asked me, especially if it's like, I'm mostly flutist, but I do play piccolo. Sometimes I'll switch to it later in a work, like it's just for a movement or for a part. And if people say, how do you know it's going to be in tune when the piccolo's been sitting there while you play the rest of the work? And I just said, pray, right? But that's so fantastic. So was that Valerie Coleman work a commission of your trio?
No, it existed prior to us wanting to perform it, but we were all too thrilled to champion the work over the past almost decade or so, and it's a work that definitely deserves to be played, and I'm so happy that it is being performed. So, yeah.
Yes, it's fantastic. And I had a lot of fun playing chamber music with your brother as well at Curtis. And then after that with Dolce Suono Ensemble. And yeah, you guys are such a dynamic duo. But it's great that you've also expanded the repertoire. One of the things, I think I have it on YouTube actually with Anthony, is Sanson Tarantelle, which I play a lot these days with Ricardo Morales as well. And I love flute clarinet duos, and there's not that many of them. I mean, part of the reason why I love it so much is that my mother and brother played clarinet when I was growing up, so I just love the sound.
Yeah, it's a great combo, and it's fun to have built-in family time when we perform together. So
yeah. That is super special. That's great. We have some lovely comments coming in. Hello, Victor, Coco. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, you're welcome to ask questions of Demarre McGill, extraordinary flutist, friend and colleague of mine. And of course, say hi. Let us know where you're listening from, what you're drinking, if it's tea or something else, of course. Very important as we enjoy some music and chatting. Rick of Cordis Mundi, thank you for bakerisms. So that we're so glad you enjoyed hearing about him. And Steve Robinson, distinguished radio producer and friend, writes, as a former board member of the Merit School and Cedill Records, I can say that everybody connected with music in Chicago is superb, proud of everything you've accomplished.
Oh, yay.
Congrats.
Thank you, Steve.
That's nice. Yeah. So Demarre, how are you enjoying the balance of orchestral, solo, and chamber work and teaching in your life?
I love it. I can't imagine at this point in my existence a life without all of the above. I love teaching for selfish reasons. It's really healthy to be able to practice what you preach, practice what you teach. And I've been fortunate to have some really tremendous, amazing students that have been inspirations to me, that have, I always feel like practicing. I love playing the flute, but it's very inspiring to be around musicians that are at the beginning of their journey, their trajectory, and just to stay connected to the younger me that was like them at a certain point. Chamber music, concerti, recitals, it's just these things. Any opportunity to make music is, for me, living the dream. And when I go from playing solo to playing an orchestra, also I feel fresh. I love every aspect of my professional existence. I mean, it's what I dreamt of when we first met. And I don't take it for granted at all.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, and just that beautiful attitude, and I absolutely relate in that the diversity of what I do, just everything feeds into everything else. Like I learn a lot from every performance, programming, running, artistic direction of Dolce Suono Ensemble, and teaching. So it's nice to hear what you said about that. And, we talked a lot about the influence of Julius Baker on us. And we were also so fortunate to study with Jeff Kaner. Do you find yourself passing on certain lessons in certain ways from both of them? And I'm really curious, especially what sort of Kaner-isms have entered your life as well from those experiences.
Well, that's easy. I mean, I remember, going to Philadelphia Orchestra concerts and learning just from watching and listening, of course, to what it meant to be a principal flute player. Still in my mind, those images, those sounds from Jeff are an ideal for me, of strength, of confidence. But most importantly, what I got from my time studying with Jeff Kaner was just understanding his work ethic and his expectations for his students, So I'll tell you about one of my favorite lessons, which was at the time very traumatic, but I was, once again, for this particular lesson, very underprepared. And I had brought in the Nielsen Concerto, and I'm not going to quote him. But in a nutshell, he made it very clear that it really doesn't matter, whatever this word means, it really doesn't matter how much talent a person has, whatever that means. What really matters is the work put in, that dedication, that consistency. And after this lesson, it was pretty traumatic. He really let me have it. It was, oh boy, I can still feel it. But I'm so grateful for that moment, for that honesty, because I really, I worked before, but I stepped it up a lot after that. And I'm so grateful for those words. I mean, these honest words of, talent is one thing, but you need to work. Like, you really, really need to work. And I appreciate that more and more, because the older I get, I find the better of a student I am. I love to practice. I love to practice the things that we were practicing then. I still, every day, I'm practicing the exercises out of the Baker book, really, like all of the time. And it's fun and it's exciting for me to try to build an even stronger foundation, try to be an even better version of myself. That people say that the beauty really is in the progress. And I absolutely believe it. That's where I get my joy from, just from working, from growing, progressing.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And I'm thinking, as you're speaking, we haven't talked about this possibly ever, reflected on those years. And yet it's such a shared past. I felt studying with both Julius Baker and Jeffrey Kaner, I was so lucky because Jeff had studied with Julie. And so I think their kind of ultimate aesthetic and goals was very similar. So it was really seamless to have both as teachers, yet their teaching style was so different. We talked about Mr. Baker often being someone of few words, but would play for us and lead us that way. And then for me, Jeff Kaner was very analytical. And he actually, right when I started at Curtis, he told my mom, get these 4 etude books. Julie forgot that you're 12 and you haven't played them. So I actually had 2 lessons a week, one with Mr. Baker, one with Mr. Keener for about 2 years. So I did
Mhm.
4 turns a week with Jeff, lots of repertoire all the time with Julie. And it was such an incredible foundation. And yes, a lot of exercises, which I played in the lesson. So I like to hear my students' exercises today, just very influenced by that. And then of course, I mean, Jeff gave me one of my hugely formative opportunities as a 15-year-old. He called me on an hour and a half notice to come to the Philadelphia Orchestra and as a substitute and sit next to him playing second in Brahms' Requiem, and ended up having a week of concerts with Maestro Sawallisch and soloists Don Upshaw, Thomas Hampson, of course, Brahms' Requiem, one of the great pieces of all time. So that was unbelievably thrilling and just so memorable.
Yeah.
In those
Yeah.
years.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So great.
But yeah, definitely, Mr. Keener, very demanding. I can relate to the story that you shared too. It was, and where would we be without that, right?
It's important.
Yep.
You need honesty,
Yeah.
and also, paired with encouragement. And we were fortunate enough to have both.
Yes, we sure were. And actually, while we are remembering our Curtis years together, I am so excited to share something that we listened to and probably hadn't listened to since we performed it in 1996. And so I contacted the Curtis Library, where director Peter Williams digitized and shared with me one of our orchestral performances where we performed Dvorak Symphony No. 9 from the New World with our professor of conducting, the wonderful Otto Werner Mueller. And you were playing first flute. I was playing second flute. I think it was my second year at Curtis, I want to say. So I thought maybe we'll listen to a little bit of that vintage recording and then talk about it live. So everybody, this is going to be Curtis Institute from 1996. Thank you to Curtis Library, first archivist Barbara Bennett, and librarian Pete Williams for sharing this thing with us. And actually, you know what? I do have a program of it too. So let me see. First, we're going to just take this walk down memory lane with the program. Here it is. Are you seeing that? Yeah. Okay. So this is just our program from 1996, February 12th. And I guess we did some Brahms Haydn variations, Brahms double concerto, double trouble, as it's called, with Pamela Frank and Peter Wiley. I really remember this concert so fondly.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Should we have a little Dvorak and then we chat again?
Sounds good.
Okay. Why is it not sharing? We're back.
It sounded vintage.
Did.
It really sounds like.
And I do apologize for some of the softer bits being really soft on that transfer, but yeah, it was a it does have that sound
from the 1900s.
We're not that old. I mean, it was a while ago, but yeah, well, no, it was a 1900s.
Oh my goodness! Wow, it's bizarre. Yeah.
No, but it's amazing because it's like I'm just feeling so much emotion hearing this and the memories, but also just like the way that we were trained in orchestra by Mr. Mueller with such knowledge of the score. Like he really impressed that upon us. And what stands out for me is just sound quality. He wanted all the dynamics to be about color, not just volume, and really bring out the architecture of the piece that way, and these tiered, very carefully orchestrated passages. So that's one thing that stands out for me. I don't know for you, Demarre.
Yeah, I have great memories of playing the Curtis Orchestra with Mr. Mueller. Um, I would say that he was also a very important teacher
Mhm.
for many of us. I mean, how I approach my time in orchestra now has everything to do with what he taught us and what he expected of us.
Mhm.
You this kind of respect for all aspects of 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 being an orchestral musician. You mentioned the score, but even how to conduct yourself in orchestra. There's so many things that even now I kind of wish that um, more people had an opportunity to learn from someone like him. You know, you can only know what you know, but I'm grateful that I know certain things that he taught us. I just can't imagine my professional orchestral existence without having had that training.
Yes, I agree. I mean, just after our flute teachers, he was such a huge influence on me. Also, having woodwind class every week with Richard Woodhams was
Mhm.
phenomenal. Also,
Yep.
just learned so much orchestral repertoire and just playing, just music. You know?
Yes. Yeah. How to play beautifully, how to phrase beautifully. It wasn't such an abstract thing at that school at that time. You know, it was a really important part of the training that we received. How to play beautifully, how to phrase beautifully, um, how to, as you mentioned earlier, how to be your own teacher. All of these things that made the transition to adulthood to a professional life a, a little bit easier, you know,
Mm,
really. I mean,
yeah.
um, I didn't feel underprepared when it was time to do this for real, you
And that
know?
is yeah. But absolutely what you're saying in terms of the woodwind approach too, because we had coaches who were students of Marcel Tabuteau, if not oboe, because there was another generation in between. I know Mr. Woodhams had studied with John Delancey, but some of our clarinet coaches, members of the Philadelphia Orchestra, like Donald Montanaro and Anthony Gigliotti, I think had been in the wind class of Marcel Tabuteau. So for those listening along who are not flute and woodwind nerds like us, very important French oboist, like a lot of the American woodwind traditions were implanted from French teachers, and he was a really major one at Curtis in Philadelphia. And one thing that's famous about Tabuteau is the numbering system, which I think just had to do with sculpting a phrase, the way you were talking about earlier too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Absolutely. We have some lovely comments and questions. Kaleem, wow, unreleased recording. What a treat. Thank you. I know we felt that way about hearing our Curtis Orchestra performance. And Victor Coco asks, Demarre, will you play live music with Mimi Stillman sometime? I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think we're overdue for our next duet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. It would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I hope so, Victor.
I hope so too. And actually, I was just thinking a little while ago, I should share with you these duets that we commissioned with Dolce Suono Ensemble for a concert we did for the centennial of Julius Baker. And so it was a tribute to Mr. Baker through his legacy with Bach.
Hmm.
Painter and I performed Bach and CPE Bach trio sonatas, and then premiered 8 duets, I think 4 with piano, 4 without. And they
Hmm.
were great composers reflecting on flute and Baker and this legacy and at times Bach. And so,
I would
yeah,
love I would love to read through these pieces. This is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. We'll have to plan that. And Ronnie Gordon, Mom, thank you. Bravi, Mimi, and Demarre, proud parents, remembering this exhilarating concert with love and admiration. Aw, we couldn't do it without you guys. I love you.
Exactly.
I remember your parents, Demarre, as well, from Curtis, your lovely parents.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about your flute. I know we always have some flutists listening, and they're always interested in the instruments themselves. And we kind of mentioned earlier in passing that we both are Yamaha artists and that you recently joined the roster. I'm so interested. What model made you fall in love?
Well, so there wasn't a specific model that made me fall in love. I knew I trust my gut feeling, and um, I was ready for a change with my instrument. And from everything that I had heard about Yamaha, I knew that this was the route that I wanted to take. They sent me initially a 14 karat gold with silver keys instrument. And well, I guess to answer correct, I guess I fell in love with this instrument. It wasn't the instrument that I was expecting to receive, um, but I just thought this is incredibly gorgeous. This is so beautiful, and I couldn't put it down. It's just I love how it felt to play the instrument. It took about I ended up buying that instrument, and then it took about I don't know, maybe 7 months, 6 months, 7 months or so, um, for uh, for them to make the instrument that I was initially expecting, which was an all 14 karat rose gold instrument. And oh my goodness, I was already in love, but it just blew me away. And I just love the instruments, love the people that work for the company, and it's so nice to. Of course, we love music. We love music, but it's so important and it's so nice to be able to really love the instrument. It's like I feel really just like an exaggerated version of the 7-year old version of myself that managed to get a sound out of the flute the first time. I feel like that when I pick up these instruments. I'm not purposely trying to be a commercial for Yamaha. I mean, I'll happily be, but it's sincere. It's nice to feel love. It's nice to truly love what you do. We love the music that we make, and it's nice to love the instrument that you make it with, for sure.
Absolutely. No, I am so delighted to hear your experience with it. I actually switched to Yamaha while I was at Curtis,
Yes.
having tried our teacher's flutes when I needed another flute. I mean, I was growing, my playing was growing, and I fell in love then. And I actually have several different Yamahas that are so phenomenal that I have just stayed with the company, and it's a great team of people in design and artist relations and all the people who work on the instruments, and they're just so education focused as well. They give a grant to my ensemble for some of our educational work, especially Música en tus Manos with the Latino community of Philadelphia. But yeah, I mean, I think my Julius Baker model is one of the greatest flutes ever made. And then I worked with them or requested some custom tweaks on the instruments. So I am also playing now my custom model based on the Julius Baker model. I think there's 6 of them in the world, and they're so great. So I love that as well. And yeah, so I know it sounds like a commercial for Yamaha, but they're so good. It's amazing. I mean, that's they deserve it because but I really love the gold sound too. When I bought my Yamaha gold with silver keys, so I wonder if it's actually similar to what you play. It's a 977. It might be that series. Maybe. But yeah, I've never been someone who just always loves gold more than silver. I love my gold head joint silver body combination. That's probably what I play most. But this flute just lured me in as well.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun to be a flutist. Can you imagine that? Like when you tell people, at least when I tell people, yes,
Yeah.
I play the flute. I play the flute for a living. Oh, how luxurious is that, really?
It is. I feel so blessed to be a musician. And yes, our voice, the flute.
Hmm.
We love it. Ben, we have a nice comment from Ben. Great. Thank you, Ben, for being here, for listening. And Kaleem wrote something so thoughtful, which I'm going to read out. It's funny to express gratitude to my flute, but I do it too, like thanking a colleague for working well together as a team. I love that.
Yeah,
It's like an extension of you, right? Of us.
that is true. It's true.
Great. Yeah. Wow. Well, what do you have coming up that you're excited about, Demarre?
Well, there's more concerts. I have, let's see, I have a couple of recitals um, over the next few weeks or so. I'm always looking forward to making music. This week I'm in orchestra. It's let's see. I have there's a work that was written for me, my brother Anthony, our friend Titus Underwood, principal oboist of Nashville Symphony, and our other friend Andrew Brady, principal bassoonist of the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. We have been performing this work, this concertante that was written for us, and that's always a great time. So yeah, actually a few recitals, that concertante, a couple of performances of that concertante. And then we're into the summer, some more chamber music. I teach and perform at the Aspen Music Festival in the summer, and it's playing a Mozart G major concerto somewhere in there. But yeah, half flute will travel. Just making music.
That sounds fantastic. And yeah, no, it's been so much fun talking with you. Everyone could find you and information on your website. Please visit mine. I hope to see people soon. Dolce Suono Ensemble will be completing our season in June in Philadelphia, June 12th, and doing other concerts before that. And my next concerto concerts are with the Portland Symphony in Maine for Joe Tian's Flute Concerto, written for me, and then performing at New England Conservatory in Boston, sort of my old home before Philadelphia and Curtis. And I'm also going to be lecturing on music and art at the Barnes Foundation, which I am so excited about. So bringing up two of my first loves, music and art together, especially relating to France and fin de siècle and Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. So we hope that you follow us, and we can't wait to share our music with you more. Thank you for being here and listening. And Demarre, thank you so much for taking this time out of your incredibly busy schedule to chat with me and to share your gorgeous recordings. And I just hope to see you again very soon, and hopefully in person.
I hope so. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you. Great chatting with you, Mimi.
Thanks so much, Demarre. See you soon.